What's up, Flannelverse? Neil here, ready to do my second ever NBA stream on this channel. I did a little tweet thread about it because I'm talking NBA. I've noticed over the past couple years, whenever I do an NBA stream, and I've done some for Rotogrinders, I did them towards the latter part of the year, 2 or 3 seasons ago for Stochastic, and whenever I do them, I get people commenting saying, "Oh, we've got an NFL guy doing NBA DFS content," and for a while it caught me off guard. Like, people consider me an NFL DFS guy. I've gotten used to it. I recognize now that the vast majority of content that I've done has been NFL content. But I laid it out in my thread that I've been playing NBA DFS since 2013, and I've told this story a few times. I think I told it maybe last week when I did my first stream. I started my DFS play primarily with NBA because my younger brother was becoming a big Timberwolves fan, and I was in law school from 2010 through 2013 in Minneapolis. My brother lived nearby, and I was busy constantly, but my brother kept on being like, "Oh, you should come over watch Timberwolves. Come over watch Timberwolves." And I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan of the NBA. I had not been since like the early 2000s. At that point, I was super busy, obviously, with I was in law school and also working full time. But eventually, towards the end of law school, I guess the following winter after I graduated law school, he finally convinced me to come over and watch the Timberwolves with him. But I didn't know the players. I didn't know the NBA at all. So my way of making myself care about it was, all right, I guess I'm familiar with this DFS thing. It was kind of starting to get popular. I'll play this and it will give me a reason to care about the players, care about the game, when I otherwise didn't really care about basketball. So I started playing NBA DFS in 2013, and I was hooked like immediately. I was obsessed. If you didn't see the Twitter thread, my very first year playing NBA DFS in the 2013-2014 season, 0.5% of my lineups made it into the top 1%, which is, if you don't know what that means, that is terrible. That means I put in half the number that you'd expect of my lineups into the top 1%. But that was the only year that I was below 1%. I think every year, I think the following year I was 1.1% into the top 1%, which is like break even. Like you're basically paying the rake, but otherwise doing fine. And then a couple years later, I got up to kind of an insane number now, relatively. Like I wasn't 150 maxing. I was playing like pretty solid volume, and I put 2.9% and then 3.5% into the top 1% for a couple years, and basically broke even. So I knew I felt it in my bones that I was running poorly, but didn't have those numbers at the time. I didn't realize how awful I was running at that time. And eventually I did. I had some success in DFS, was able to start 150 maxing, and eventually did realize profits, and have had some success in NBA DFS. I'm certainly not like one of the people who's made millions of dollars in NBA DFS. I am just shy of 6 figures. I have 99,000 some dollars lifetime profits in NBA DFS. But the past few years, I've been sliding a little bit, and it's been because I've been doing so much NFL DFS content, and there is enough overlap there between NFL and NBA that I kind of wasn't able to play NBA in the way that I think you kind of need to have success. I think you really do need to grind, and you have to do it every day, if you're really going to be successful at it. Just like understand rotations, understand the ramifications if a player is out, understand different defensive schemes, stuff like that. So the past couple of years, I have not been quite as into it as I was historically, and I'm kind of hoping to get back into it. So I'm excited for this show to talk about NBA DFS for the first time. I introduced it as an idea last week. I don't think we ever really got into DFS at all, but I'm planning on, as you can see, I've made a little sidebar just below me. The order of what I'm planning to do here. I'm going to start with looking at some unabated pick'em props. Unabated, fantastic tools, and they're sponsoring the show. So I want to start by looking at some of their pick'em stuff. But it's kind of hard to do a lot of content, like long form content on pick'em stuff, because it's kind of like, it's just this rates out well in their sims. What else can you really say about it? A lot of the time it's like, this start like DFS, you can find a value, the starters out, whatever, somebody becomes a screaming value. You can see that a player is going to be underowned, whatever. It's not quite as interesting to do content related to it, but I do want to show you the tools that Unabated has, because there are very good tools. And they also they tweeted out last week that they've been tracking, and within half an hour at 6:30 Eastern, I believe was the time frame, their props at 6:30 Eastern have a 7% ROI, which is really strong for that late. So they're strong even later into the night than we are at right now. So I want to go into the pick'em stuff, and then I'll go position by position for DFS. I'll play around with some lineups, talk about I'll be using the Rotogrinders LineupHQ tool, which I have not used for NBA yet. This will be the first time that I've used Rotogrinders LineupHQ for NBA, but I'll kind of talk about how I use an optimizer in general, like how an optimizer works, and play around with that a little bit. Good to see many of you here. Chris, thank you for showing up early. Good to see you in the chat. What is up? Asking when am I joining Endgame? I probably will do work with Endgame. I mean, Adam and I did shows earlier this year for NFL. I don't know that I'll ever be a part of Endgame, but I imagine I'll work together with those guys. I'm friendly with everybody at Endgame. Like I said, I don't really know Yoda, to be honest, but I know everybody else at Endgame. I am friendly with them, so I hope to continue to work with Endgame. I know they do good work. I know Adam's been doing NBA projections, does a lot of great stuff over there. Yeah, I'd love to work with those guys in any capacity I can, but currently no plans in place for me to work with Endgame. I think Adam is enjoying kind of working on his own schedule, so I have noticed that he's been working hard on the projections, still not like doing daily shows all the time. So I don't know that he would be, if I offered to do daily shows with him, I don't think Adam would want to do it. He also doesn't really need me for NBA. He has that NBA following that I don't really have. So I don't know that he would be up for doing something like that. But yeah, love those guys, obviously. Love working with them. What's going on, Tom? Good to see you here also. All right. So let's start. Just take a look at some of the current unabated props. I'll and I just to give a shout out to Unabated, some of the things that I like about them as a DFS player. I can have my Discord open to the Unabated Discord, because they give you updates whenever they update projections to let you know we've updated for the Hawks starting lineup coming out. We've updated for this injury news. They update the projections and they tell you that they have updated the projections, which is something that I have wanted for a very long time. They also have contingent projections. I actually have not had the opportunity yet to try. I don't know if you can download their contingent projections or if they only work for the props. I will try that on this stream. But I am going to. Vinny says get in some dog bowl qualifiers. maybe I'll do that at the end of the show. I thought about adding that to the sidebar, like doing some drafts on Underdog. Excuse me. I should tell you I'm a little bit sick. I've been sick for a couple days now, a few days, I guess. I was actually planning on doing this show yesterday, and then I delayed it a day because I was hoping to feel better today. I'm not really feeling that much better, but I'm not in that bad of shape. This isn't like when I had COVID, I was completely wiped out. I'm doing better than I was at that time. I think I just have a common cold that's been sticking around a little bit longer. So if I am coughing, if I sound a little bit nasally, that's why. But I'm mostly feeling. Adam CS, do you have an NBA team you root for? Oh yeah, I root for the Timberwolves. I have split season tickets. How does my mic sound? I just it just said it was unplugged. I probably need to get a new mic. I have not taken the effort yet to get a new mic. It just started crapping out last week from time to time. I know I sounded like a robot earlier in a show last week. Let me know if my mic does not sound okay now. It just randomly unplugged itself. But yeah, I split Timberwolves season tickets with a few friends of mine. I go to probably for the past 3 years, I've gone to an average of like 14 Timberwolves games per year when you include the playoffs. Yeah, I wouldn't call myself like a diehard in the sense that I don't watch every Timberwolves game, but I try to watch them when I can. I love Ant, love the team. What projections do you use? It's not always consistent. I have used ETR projections at times. I like ETR in the solver. Today I'll be using, I might do a mixture. haven't decided. So we'll take a look as I'm doing the show at both Unabated's projections and the Rotogrinders projections. I could aggregate them. I'm not sure that I want to aggregate them. Ultimately, it doesn't matter that much for me because a lot of my process is messing with the projections and getting them to numbers that I like for getting exposures that I like. It obviously matters some. You need good projections as a starting point. I trust both Unabated and Rotogrinders for projections. I think they both, they have really sharp people on their teams working on them. So that's what I will be using today. And also today I am playing 160 lineups for I believe a total of $135 in play. I'm maxing out the mini max, and then I'm going to have I think just 10 entries into the $8 contest. Depending on how long the show goes, maybe I'll make those lineups in the Rotogrinders LineupHQ optimizer while on the show. If we go late enough, I might do that. We'll see if my throat allows me to go that late. Yeah, OA says Unabated has DFS projections. Actually, I'll show you that. Let me get through the Unabated pick'em stuff first, and then I'll show you where you can find the Unabated projections, because I actually couldn't find them. Had to have somebody direct me to them. I was planning on using them on the last show and couldn't find them. Maybe I'll give them that feedback that it's not that straightforward. But yeah, they have projections, so you can download their projection, then it'll give you both the stat prop projections and also DraftKings or FanDuel projections. And to put them into Rotogrinders, you have to go into the spreadsheet and like change the headings. That's the case like regardless of which projection source you pull from elsewhere. If you put it into Rotogrinders, there's going to be some things that you need to you need to change the header from like player name to name or something like that, and then you have to change the column header DK to fantasy points. I don't remember the exact specifics. It's very straightforward, and they tell you exactly what you need to do. But yeah, the Unabated has projections. I will put them into Rotogrinders LineupHQ so we can take a look at their projections. But I'm going to start here with the Unabated. I'm going to restart this, just refresh to make sure that probably don't need to refresh here. So I am in NBA DFS Pick'em. I'm in Minnesota, so I can't do like actual sports betting. I can't bet sides, totals, whatever. I can only do Pick'em sites. I can do Underdog. I can do PrizePicks. I'm told the Underdog projections or the Underdog stuff works really well with the Unabated projection. So I'm going to start there, and I'm just choosing to use Unabated NBA projections. Now you can, if you wanted to, you could. I've actually in the past I've downloaded ETR's player prop projections and put them in here as well, and you can kind of weight them, and then you can find the best props using a combo. You can also use market-based projections here, so that you can kind of if the Unabated projections seem really high, like they're way over, they give you too high of a number on a player's like rebound prop, the market-based projections will kind of tell you if that is how trustworthy that is, I guess, to some extent. If the number is based on like other books, is that a good number? Okay, I'm just going to go with Unabated NBA projections though. And you can see right away here why it's not that exciting to do content related to it, because it's like, okay, Ron Holland, the best edge you can find, 23% is under 0.5 3-pointers for Ron Holland. He projects for exactly 0.5, but there's 23% edge, which I guess I'll say that might seem counterintuitive. Like he's projected for the exact number of the line, but you can't hit less than 0 3-pointers. So this might mean if he averages half of a 3-pointer per game, that might mean that he goes hits 0 3-pointers in his first 3 games and then hits 2 in his 4th game. So then he's averaging half a 3-pointer per game in those 4 games, but he's hit the under 75% of the time in that sense. So that's kind of what this edge is telling you. But really, there's not that much to say about. Like, it just means that he's going to make less than 1 3-pointer a majority of the time. And if we can see the exact percentage, if I click into it, then it comes up over here. So it looks like there is a 66.5% chance that he's going to hit 0 3-pointers. And then the rest of the time he will hit a three-pointer. This is a 23% edge on this bet, which is actually a pretty strong edge. So I'll throw that one in there for underdog. And this is, we're taking a lot of unders, so it's not that fun for just the casual player to play a lot of unders, but you'll see it across any site that does good stuff like this, that gives you good odds. It's going to be a lot of unders. So probably a good sign that we're seeing a lot of unders at the top here. Excuse me with the coughing. Okay, so now you put these two in, added Eric Gordon lower on 13.5 points plus rebounds. Now we've got a total edge of 29.8%. That's pretty high. Taj Gibson going to be starting once again, most likely with Mark Williams out. Higher rebounds plus assists. The number is 4.5, projected for 5.6. So that's another strong one. Now we're up to a 63% total edge. Trey Jones, now again, 5.5 is the number. Rebounds plus assists. The projection is 5. The total edge is 11% on Trey Jones. So add that one. We're up to 67.5% total edge. Now, what happens if I put insurance on? So the total edge goes down if you put insurance on. Actually, can you do insurance on just 4? You must be able to. I don't know. But I'm going to throw in one more. We'll throw in. Yeah, they're all lowers. They're all lowers here. I want to throw in a fun higher, but all the best are lowers right now. So I'll just throw in Patrick Williams, since Tim Hardaway is questionable, lower on 6.5 rebounds plus assists. Now we're up to 106.2% total edge. That is the most you can do here. If you put insurance on this, it's just a 77.3. So obviously better to play this one without insurance, but you're also less likely to hit. It's going to take you longer to realize your edge if you play without insurance. But overall, this is a pretty strong card. If you can get 106.2% total edge. So this looks like a really strong underdog card here. And is it all? It's one. We got one higher with Taj Gibson, but really strong card here using the unabated tools. Ron Holland lower than 0.5 3-pointers. Eric Gordon lower than 13.5 points plus rebounds. Taj Gibson higher than 4.5 rebounds plus assists. Trey Jones lower than 5.5 rebounds plus assists, and Paw lower than 6.5 rebounds plus assists. You get 106.2% total edge. I don't think it tells you. There's nothing here that tells you the how frequently this will hit, but I should know. Like these are all with all these numbers being so low. Like this is going to hit a lot less frequently. It's going to miss a lot more than it hits, I guess is the better way to phrase that. Like it's not going to win all that often. It's just a matter of when you win this bet, because it's a 5 card with no insurance. You're going to, I don't remember, is it 20x, something like that? You're going to hit in a big way. So a lot more often you're going to miss, but you're going to win big when you do win here. Oh, this is cool. Steve asked, "Do you use BetR?" I've never used BetR. They actually they just DM me the other day. I don't really know anything about them. Fantasy Guru Drew points out, guaranteed overlay for FanDuel NBA main $5 contest. Good way to increase your odds of breaking even. Thank you for that, Drew. I can't tell if that was that like Drew doing like polite shit talk. Is that to increase good way to increase your odds of breaking even? That's funny. Yeah, let's see. Drew doesn't usually do polite. Yeah, guaranteed overlay. Yeah, and there's only we're up to 47,000, so only about 7,000 spots left there. I wasn't planning on really looking at FanDuel, but maybe we should look at FanDuel also. Top 40% paid. Man, do I need to get into this? Maybe I'll get into FanDuel also. Thank you for that, Drew. All right. I don't have a ton of money in FanDuel, but I'll put in a few. Let's see. I think I have exactly $270 in FanDuel. So I'm going to reserve 54 entries on FanDuel right now. You should also, if you're not already, if you play on FanDuel, it's going to be worth checking that out. All right. So now I'm in. I'm in on FanDuel, playing a bit on FanDuel, playing a bit on DraftKings. Okay. So this is, maybe I should make this screen smaller so you can see the full card here. So this is the card on Underdog. I guess maybe I'll play one. I'll play this card, and then I'm just gonna see if there's a card that we could make that would be good. That's all overs. Just because I know a lot of people just want to have fun sports betting. So I'll see if you can make a positive EV card with all overs today. All right, so I'm going to, let's see. I guess I'll do it on my screen. All right, pick them. I'll do just NBA. And it's possible that we've lost some of these, but we'll see. Ron Holland. Lower 0.5 3-pointers. And I'll throw in Eric Gordon, lower than 13.5 rebounds plus assists. Or was it points? Let's see. Eric Gordon. Lower than 13.5 points plus assists. Taj Gibson, higher than 4.5 rebounds plus assists. Trey Jones, lower than 5.5 rebounds plus assists. And Patrick Williams, lower than 6.5 rebounds plus assists. All right. So I'm going to go $20 on it. Standard. So I could win up to $428. 21.4x. We got a little juice on the one of those lines. Let's see which one. I can't see it now. One of them was like 1.0x. So we got in good a little bit. All right. Ooh, 25% deposit match on Underdog right now. I don't have a deal with Underdog, so I can't give you. I think you could use promo. You could use Player Q, but it's not going to give you any kind of great deal if you're not signed up for Underdog. Chris G asking, how many teams did you advance to the Super Bowl? Talking about the playoff best ball. Just one. I only got my Mitten team through. It was super tilting seeing everybody else posting their teams that got through. I saw John Warner posted one of his teams that got through, and then Pete Overzet posted one where he got second and showed the team that got first. I had teams that would have beat all of them. I had multiple teams that I had a team that put up like 99 point something points in the gauntlet. Had another team that put up like 90.8 or something. Three teams of mine in the gauntlet all put up big scores, would have advanced two of them in, I think, like 90% of pods. And of course, I got into the worst pods. So I didn't get any gauntlet teams through, just got one Mitten team through. So that was unfortunate. It is at least a full team. So I guess I'm happy about that. Could compete for one of the better prizes. But yeah, would have loved to get a gauntlet team in through because those teams, neither of my good teams, the ones that put up big scores, would have been live for anything real in the Super Bowl because they both were relying on Jaden Daniels at quarterback, so I would have had no quarterback. But they both would have had like 4 or 5 active players in the Super Bowl, so could have, and it's $1,000 minimum. So just making it to the Super Bowl is big money in that. So yeah, that was kind of a bummer, but just got that one through. All right, so there you have it. There's the first card. Now let me try see if I can find an overs only card. Just going to refresh it real quick, just in case anything changes. We'll go back to Underdog. All right, so Taj Gibson, once again. Julian Champagny. And is this one 13.5% total edge? So you can see they don't have quite the same edge. Sam Hauser. We're up to 33.8. Okay, that's not bad. We're getting there. PJ Washington. Okay, that one actually brought the edge down. So I think we've reached the point. Well, let me try one more. Let's see if it. Devin Vassell, 5.3% edge. All right, so that one actually brought the edge back up. So if you do these 5 overs, total edge 48.6%. That's Taj Gibson, higher than 4.5 rebounds plus assists. Julian Champagny, higher than 5.5 points. Sam Hauser, higher than 8.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. PJ Washington, higher than 1.5 3-pointers. And Devin Vassell, higher than 20.5 points plus assists. And this is actually an edge card with some edge using all hires. So if you're somebody who likes to play all the hires, that looks like it would be an okay card to play on Underdog. Let's take a brief look at some of the other pick'em options. So that was just Underdog. Let's take a quick look at PrizePicks for those who are playing there. And again, I'm just going to use the unabated projections. All right, so the top pick is actually higher than 2.5 3-pointers for Kobe White, lower than 13.5 points plus rebounds for Eric Gordon, lower than 4.5 rebounds for Devin Booker, lower than 4 rebounds for Patrick Williams. Should I throw it? I'll use it. Lower than 4.5 rebounds plus assists for Tim Hardaway. And then finally, lower than 9 points plus rebounds for Simone Fontecchio. And this one has, okay, we don't have a total edge listed there. Interesting. Okay. But these are some of the top picks at PrizePicks if you are interested in playing. So a few here over 60%, so that's pretty nice. All right. And then finally, just going to look quickly at Pick Six because I like playing on DraftKings also. So let's take a look at the Pick Six options. Again, Kobe White, is this? I just want to refresh and make sure this isn't like an error that I'm getting to some of the same picks on both. I'm guessing that it's the same. Okay. Yep. So higher than 2.5 3-pointers for Kobe White, lower than 4.5 rebounds for Devin Booker, higher than 12.6. Damn, higher than 12.6 rebounds for Giannis. Lower than 11.5 points for Eric Gordon, lower than 11.5 rebounds plus assists for Steph, lower than 6.5 rebounds plus assists for Paul. So here it is at Pick Six, the top bets available currently. All right. So I think that's it. I think that's good enough. And unless anybody has anything else they want to see for the pick'em stuff, obviously happy to look at the pick'em stuff more if you'd like to. But I did want to talk a bit about DFS, which I haven't really done a solo DFS show for NBA yet. So should be kind of fun. Talk about like what my process has been as we go, and also ways that maybe I could improve. Like I think my process has worked, but also the landscape has changed. So maybe there's more that I should be thinking about doing, and I have some ideas of ways I can improve my process that I have not enacted yet, but things that I am thinking about doing with my NBA DFS process. So we will talk about that. And I'll just go. I'm going to start by just going position by position, and I'm going to download the unabated projections, put them into Rotogrinders, and then I'll switch back and forth between unabated and Rotogrinders projections. So to download, and I'm only sharing my screen, that web browser, so you're not going to be able to see exactly what I'm doing in. I don't think I'm going to bother pulling up Excel to like share the Excel screen. I'm just going to do it quickly, but I'll show everything that I can without having to switch screens. All right, so I'm going to go to find the unabated projections. I'm going to go to NBA, and then I think it's actually on the prop screen. Yeah, NBA props. Now, if you click where it says My Custom Projections, you can see here unabated NBA projections, and then it says and conditional projections. Okay, let me see that again. I'm not sure if I can download that's something I'll have to talk about with them, but let's go. I'm going to go back to, oh, here we go. So they have conditional projections today just for these three scenarios. It's Grady Dick in or out, Emmanuel Quickly in or out, or Zion Williamson in or out. I think I'm just going to do there without the conditional. And all you do is you go to, so you choose, I mean, just click on the projection source here. If you just click this green button, you can download the unabated projections. And then again, to upload them to Rotogrinders or whatever other optimizer you're using, you will have to make some adjustments to them. But I'm just going to click this button, download them. Then I'm going to click on it because I'm going to, and I'll read off what I'll tell you what I'm doing as I do it here. I'm going to go to Rotogrinders now, LineupHQ, and I'm going to upload. So you can see here, upload aggregate. Let me just look at my screen, make sure you can see everything. Yeah. So where it says upload aggregate, I am going to click that. And now I can go to, I'm going to change the name here to Unabated. What is going on? My keyboard is jamming up. All right. And then I'm going to click choose file. And it's not going to work the first time. It's just going to tell me what I need to change about the, and I'm choosing the unabated projections, my latest downloaded. You probably can't see this. Then I'm going to click upload. And it says the first column header must be either player ID or name. Please try again. So I'm going to go in and change that. And I know you can't see what I'm doing right now, but it's pretty straightforward. There is a column that's player. It's called player. And I'm actually going to move it to the far left. I'm not sure that I need to do that. But I'm moving it, and then I'm going to change the column header, which is currently player. I'm going to change that so it says name. All right. And save that. And then I believe I'm going to get one more error here when I try to do it again, but I'm going to do it anyway just to see what the error is. Okay, it says there is a missing F points or projected ownership column header. Please, so it needs to be called. So Unabated's projections have a column that's called DK points, and I'm just going to change that column title to F points, so that'll work with the LineupHQ. All right, I'm going to save that. Then now I'm going to change this again to Unabated so that I know the name. Click upload. There we go. Oh, damn. So this one, it says 59 issues with your CSV. And now you just have to go through, and let me make sure you can see it on the screen. Yes, you can. So I have to go through and change some of the player names here. So row 13, name Nick Smith. Skip this row. Okay. Vasily Misic. Yes, I want to choose. Wait, no match player. No, I don't want to skip any rows. I want to make sure, excuse me, that I've got the right player selected. Diabate. And it's pretty quick. This is actually a lot more issues than I had the last time, but you just have to go through and make sure, do you have the right player selected for each player? Yes. Trey Murphy. Yes, Trey Murphy the third. And it's just because of different naming conventions. I'm not going to skip any. Dario. Porter. Joker. Deron Holmes. Kelly Oubre. Good. And I'm not going to skip any. I haven't done this enough times to know why it sometimes chooses to skip players. I'm sure that becomes evident over time, and maybe it's better. Maybe you can. I don't know. Tyus Jones. He's not Trey Jones. Oh, maybe are they players that are not on the slate? It must be players that are not on the slate. All right, let me look. Kevin Durant. Are the Suns on this slate? All right, let me go look. Okay, so that's the issue. It's some of the players you can skip because the player is not actually on the slate, so that's why they're not showing up. Okay, that makes sense. Just want to see, is there... Yeah, so there are some night games. Is it just Phoenix Golden State? So there are games that are being played tonight but are not on the slate. That seems to be the issue. Okay, yeah. Oh wait. Confirming that they're not on the main slate. Okay. I did not run into that issue last time, so this is that's good to know. Whipping Nick Richards. Oh yeah, he's on the Suns now. That's right. Okay. Good. So I think we're good. Okay, wait. Andre Jackson. Just gonna scroll to the bottom. Okay, then I'm gonna submit. So now I've got the unabated projections in LineupHQ. And now you can choose to weight them. Like you can say, and I also have Shot Quality Advanced Analytics. That's another Rotogrinders partner that provides projections for Rotogrinders. I think that they're also very good. So I have a few different that I can use, but if I wanted to, I could choose to weight them. So I could say, you could use, it'll aggregate it for me if I go like, ooh, there's a unabated. Okay. I think I just titled today's unabated. So if I wanted to go like 40% to RG, 40% to unabated, 20% to Shot Quality, or whatever, like you can weight them however you want. That's not typically what I do. I like to just start with one source, and I talked with Shady Advice about this on a podcast, on my podcast at one point, and he did not like the idea of aggregating because different assumptions are being made, and when you aggregate, sometimes you come up like the one scenario that can never be right. Like if you're assuming that Giannis is in, not on this slate but on a different slate, assume that Giannis is in for one set of projections, and then assume that he's out for the other, you're going to get like Giannis is going to project for 30 fantasy points, which is just never right. And then all of his teammates are going to get like a little bit of a bump, but maybe not enough to be like the slam dunk plays that they actually are with Giannis out, and also way better than they should be with Giannis in. So it just doesn't really work to aggregate and that's giving kind of a large example that like doesn't happen that often, but like there's a lot of smaller examples where different places are making different assumptions, and if you aggregate them, it doesn't necessarily do what you want it to do. So I'm not going to aggregate. I'm just going to flip back and forth between them. All right, and here I'm going to start, and let me make sure I'm on the right spot. Move down to point guards, and we're just going to start looking at point guards, and I'm just going to talk through the point guards a little bit, just looking at who are some of the top projected and who are some of the top point per dollar plays, and then see if there are any other like players that stand out who are not getting a ton of ownership to me. And of course, if anybody is watching and you have questions about a certain player, if you have thoughts on a certain player, I'm of course open to hearing them. A lot of you who are watching the show probably have played more NBA DFS than I have this year. I missed, the first chunk of the year because I was so busy with NFL DFS. I've started to get into it recently, but I feel pretty behind. So if you have thoughts, if you have questions, things you want me to look at, I'm happy to look at whatever. But I'm going to start just by, and I'm going to move the sidebar down to point guards here. So I'm going to look at the different projection sources for point guards. We'll start here. So in terms of, I've got it sorted already by point per dollar options. So currently, you can see there's not a lot of great value at point guard. I think there's not a lot of great value on this slate in general right now. Maybe that'll change before I finish the show, but it might not. As of right now, and I'm just looking at my phone to see if there are any updates. I don't think there have been any updates here. Yeah. So Tyrese Maxey is currently he's 9,700. That's the best value you have, which kind of goes to show not a lot of like real value at the point guard position on this slate. But Tyrese Maxey, he's only 9,700. Projects pretty well for it. This is all right. I'm just gonna scroll over here back to see the projection. Projection for 38 minutes, 54. I mean, that's pretty good. 54 fantasy point projection at 9,700 for Tyrese Maxey is obviously a very strong point per dollar projection. It's still going to be like, what was it, like 5x, 5.59x. Like there'll be slates where the top point per dollar point guard is like 9x because you get like a mid-priced point guard who's typically a backup but is thrust into the starting lineup, stuff like that. We don't really seem to have anything like that today. Tyrese Maxey at 5.59 fantasy points per dollar, the best value currently on DraftKings. Then you have Kobe White. Pretty nice matchup with Toronto, I believe. Let's see. So he's 5,900 projected for 32.57 fantasy points. So again, pretty good in just 32 projected minutes. Just taking a look at his game log. Yeah, that looks like that's sort of on the high end for the minutes he's been playing. But if the game stays close, I think that's a pretty reasonable projection on Kobe White. Do we have any injuries there? That's not what I'm going to do. Hang on. Zach LaVine out. Torrey Craig out. THT questionable. Okay. Have they been out? LaVine and Torrey Craig? This shows you how not tuned in I am right now. Yeah, LaVine was already out. THT was in. He's questionable. Torrey Craig was already out. So no real new players out there. But Kobe White looks okay. Matchup with Toronto. How are they? I'd like to look at this. Like, has anything changed over like the last 10 games? How does Toronto look? This is a free tool, by the way. Most of the stuff that I use for NBA DFS when I'm looking at stuff, most of it is either free or it's one of the things. It's Rotogrinders or Unabated. These are just the tools that I use. Raptors 13th in pace currently over the past 10 games, which not like a super high pace. Defensive rating of 108. Yeah, not a great matchup. Third best defensive rating over the past 10 days. The Raptors. I feel like that's better than for the season. But just if he plays 32, it's at 5,900. Fairly strong fantasy producer. Kobe White looks pretty good. Damian Lillard at 9,000, projecting for 37 minutes. Russell Westbrook. From a like point per dollar standpoint, we don't have awesome plays at point guard. KPJ projected for 19 minutes, 17 and a half fantasy points. Castle 5,200, 31 minutes. Like he's projected for just over 5x value. It does not look like we're finding great value at the point guard position. Just got notification that Emmanuel quickly will start. Let's compare. So we have so this is the RG projections. Grady Dick available to play. Kelly Olynyk available to play. All right. So nobody coming up from Toronto. So these are the RG projections. And they have Maxey, White, and Lillard as the top. Now I'm just going to switch these to unabated projections. And they have it a little bit of different orders. So they have Kobe White as the best projected, followed by Chris Paul, Jamal Murray, Lonzo Ball. Tyrese Maxey does not project quite as well here. Jamal Sheed out. Don't think that's going to change much. I don't really know anything about Jamal Sheed, so maybe you can inform me. All right, let me look up who is Jamal Sheed. Okay, he's not on this slate, or was already projected out. But yeah, at the point guard position, a lot of it's fairly similar. Tyrese Maxey, I mean, that's kind of a big difference. Rotogrinders had him at like 54 fantasy points. Unabated has him at 51 fantasy points. I don't believe Unabated has ownership projections. So that's where it is useful to have access to both. Yeah, no ownership projections here. So we can't compare that. God. But a lot of the same players looking good. So as far as the top values, I mean, Kobe White, 5,900, standing out as one of the best point guard values. Chris Paul actually looks really good here, or pretty good. I shouldn't say really good. He's 5,800, projecting for 30.5 fantasy points by unabated. Jamal Murray, strong-ish value against Philadelphia. Lonzo Ball, 4,700. Howard, he's at project for 25 minutes here. Yeah, he played a 26-minute game in there. So I guess 25 looks pretty reasonable. Minutes coming up a little bit for Lonzo. Maxey, again, he looks good everywhere. He looks great using the RG projections, but still looks pretty good. So he looks like he's probably going to make it into a cash lineup. Lillard looks pretty good. Westbrook looks pretty good. All right. And then I'm going to sort by fantasy points, just raw fantasy points. And it's Maxey. Even here where he projects worse than he does at Rotogrinder, still projects 4 fantasy points better than the next best, better than Lillard here. Cade Cunningham, not far behind, not a great point per dollar play there, but it was only 12.4% owned as a result. Scotty Barnes I made him the cover of this show. I think he's just a great matchup against Chicago. He's 9,400. He's only projected for 10% ownership by Rotogrinders. Project for 35 minutes. But there's some volatility there. And I think, as you can see here, like in a close game, he could play a lot more than 35 minutes. He played 38 against Atlanta, 36 against New Orleans, 37, a couple times recently. I don't know. So he's a little bit of volatility in the minutes there for Scotty Barnes, and a really strong matchup with Chicago. Looking at I've got it sorted by defensive rating. Ranked 20th in defensive rating, so a plus matchup in terms of Chicago's defense, but then also in terms of pace, at least on the year. Yeah, fifth in terms of pace, even in the past 10 games. I think it's even better on the year, but kind of a fast-paced team, and they play poor defense, so everything looks pretty good for Scotty Barnes there. So even in 35 minutes, he looks strong, and then he could, if he gets a few extra, he would project really well for 9,400. And he's only getting 10% ownership. So he's the type of player that I would like to get overweight to the field on. That's kind of the type of player I target where it's just he doesn't stand out as an amazing value. He looks like a fine value, but there's clearly upside for a lot more there if things break the right. Okay, yeah, THT not really part of the rotation, so that doesn't really affect things. Yeah. Last 7, not a great matchup for point guards. Bulls are a good matchup. Yeah, I mean, the Bulls are they're a good matchup for, and I like pace stuff. I don't know well enough. Like, I haven't done any kind of research on this, but the way like I like assume a good like a high pace matchup seems like it would be good for everybody except for like true bigs. Like maybe like Joel Embiid doesn't benefit from a high pace game. I would imagine like he's just, and he's not even one that's likely to be pulled, but like just doesn't seem like he would benefit in the same way as like wings and guards. I think just like seem like unequivocally they should benefit from a pace up matchup, whereas like true bigs maybe not quite as much. Although maybe there's still more rebounds, more opportunities in general, but I'm not sure that it's the same type of benefit. All right, so I think that does it for point. Actually, let's just scroll down, see if anybody else jumps out from a projected ownership standpoint. So Scotty is, I think Kyrie, I mean, project for just 4.5% ownership, 8,800. Like Luca's still out, obviously. I don't know. I think Kyrie like that seems like a pretty strong value. If he's going to be that low or strong contrarian play, he has not been doing much with Luca out. Man, 27.25 against Washington. That's bad, but I think he's like capable of going off against anybody. Minnesota strong defense, 55 fantasy points against them, 48 against Charlotte. I don't know. I still think that's a pretty strong bet to make on Kyrie at 4.5% ownership. You can sign me up for that. DeJounte Murray, less than 1% projected ownership. Hate the matchup with Boston, but seems okay. Giddey against Toronto, as noted, not as good of a matchup recently. Still probably, I mean, at 0.5% ownership, 31 minutes is the projection. Where have his minutes been? Yeah. I mean, they've been volatile, which isn't necessarily the worst thing. 38 against Philadelphia, 33-40. Just the last couple games, 26 and 25 for Giddey. But in the right matchup, if he's doing well, I don't know. I don't hate the volatility there. So Giddey is something that I'd want to have at least a few percent. If he's actually going to be 0.5%, I want to have a few percent of Giddey. Kobe White, as we noted, just a really strong point per dollar play. McCollum, again, similarly, just don't love the matchup with Boston, but at no ownership, not the worst play. Quickly projected for 28 minutes. I wonder if that was docked because we didn't know if he was going to be in. Because he's been playing more than that. So what would happen if I put that? I don't know if this will adjust it automatically for me. If I put him up to 30, does it automatically adjust? It does. Okay. So suddenly it looks a lot better. If you put him up to 30, say you want to give him 31 minutes, then he would be a great value. As you can see here, the fantasy point shot up to 35 if you put him in for 31 minutes, which would be a strong value at 6,700, where we're lacking a lot of great value. Now, obviously, 31 on the high end, but he's hit it 2 of the past 3 games. Great matchup. So that seems like a fine play at 3.5% ownership. Although obviously I'm not doing real projections. If you give more minutes to quickly, probably need to take those minutes away from somebody else, which I've never bothered doing that. I'm not doing my own projections here. Chris Paul, pretty strong, 5,800. Io DeSumo looks okay. Let's see anybody else. All right, let's move on to shooting guards. I'll check in on chat. Oh, yes. Who are the top 3 projected ownership. Do you mean overall or just at point guard? I'll look at point guard first. So it's Kobe White, 33% projected ownership. Tyrese Maxey, 30%. Damian Lillard, 19% at point guard. Overall, it is 43% going to Moussa Diabate, 40% going to Giannis, 33% going to Kobe White. Oh, Aaron Gordon. I'll probably fall for Aaron Gordon trap again. All right, let's go to shooting guard though first. And again, I'm gonna move over to sort by fantasy points per dollar to find the best values. Let's see. That's a good note from OA. OA says, last time he missed extended time, speaking of Emmanuel quickly, he played 32 and 33 minutes his first 2 games back. So that is a good note. He didn't even, has he missed extended time? Oh, he's been out longer than I thought he was. Okay. I missed that he had missed extended time. So maybe, yeah, put him in for 31 minutes is probably ambitious. But that's a good note that, like, it's ambitious, but it is possible. It's happened before. All right. So sorting shooting guard. This is by fantasy points per dollar on DraftKings. Kobe White, again, still the top. Kelly Oubre, no Embiid, projected for 36 minutes, 35 fantasy points at 6,300, looks pretty good. Devin Vassell, projected for 33 fantasy points at 6,100. Jamal Murray, 39.5 fantasy points, 7,500. Jaylen Brown. So again, no like awesome standout values at shooting guard. Malik Beasley, he's only 5,100. Projects for 26 fantasy points in 27 minutes. Is there any? Yeah, 29 last time out, 30 on the 25th. So he could play a few extra. Chris Middleton, it's only 5,100. So we played 27 minutes on the 27th and then only 15 against Portland on the second half of a back-to-back. Now it's been a few days, so maybe we could see more minutes for Chris Middleton. If you do want to put him in for 27 minutes, he would probably look like a pretty strong value. Suddenly he's projected for 28.5 fantasy points at 5,100. So I think that's a pretty strong play. He is getting 17% ownership. Yeah, Tim Hardaway. Grady Dick is in. Project for 24 minutes. All right. Anybody standing out? Oh. All right. Just gonna let's take a look at the projected sorted by fantasy points. So the top in terms of raw projection at shooting guard, you have Jaylen Brown, Jamal Murray, Kelly Oubre, Trey Murphy, Kobe White, CJ McCollum. Nobody projects that well. 41 the best at the position for Jaylen Brown. Let's take a quick look at the RG projections also. And they have Jaylen Brown, the top, still just 40 fantasy points. Jamal Murray, Kelly Oubre, Trey Murphy, Kobe White, CJ McCollum. Let's take a look at point per dollar at Rotogrinders. It's Kelly Oubre number 1, Chris Middleton. Oh wait, is that because I gave him a minutes projection boost? Now I don't know if this is source value 24. Okay. So that is so he would not be quite as high without my minutes boost there. Kobe White, Malik Beasley. They have Malik Beasley for 28 minutes. Pretty sure that was higher than what Unabated had. Seems reasonable. Jamal Murray looks okay. I don't know if there's a lot. Like I don't immediately love anybody at shooting guard. Klay Thompson. Man, this game against Washington, I did a show with Tasteful Tides at Rotogrinders, and he was about to be all in on Klay Thompson. And then it came out that he had a 24-minute limit. And then Klay Thompson put out 30 fantasy points in the first quarter. So we didn't play him. Nobody played him because of the minutes limit. And we almost very much regretted it. But then only scored 6.75 the rest of the way in that game, thankfully. So we didn't have to regret it that much. But he looks okay. All right. I'm not going to spend a lot of time at point guard. Nobody's standing out that looks that awesome to me. I guess this is where if you want to play like a CJ McCollum at shooting guard, I think that is reasonable. Maybe just play the value in Julian Strawther, Brandon Boston. I'm going to run the optimizer later also, just to see what comes out and talk about optimizer settings a little bit. But I'm not going to spend any more time on shooting guards. I'm going to move over to small forwards. Yeah, for real. That was kind of insane. All right. Oh, and I did not even move. That's the trouble with the sidebars. Is I forgot to move it down to shooting guard, but now I'm going to remember to move it down to small forward. And we're going to take a little look there. Not really getting a ton of news. Yeah, nothing. This is not the most exciting slate. I like a good 6-gamer. It's a pretty like straightforward slate in that we're not expecting much to change, but you know, as a player, if I'm not doing content, I love the slates with a lot of moving parts. All right, point per dollar at small forward. Currently, I have the RG projections in, so we'll start there. Oh, and I should note, since I'm using Rotogrinders and I'm using Unabated, you can find the links in the description of this video if you want to check them out. I think they're both awesome products doing different things. What's on the screen right now, this is Rotogrinders LineupHQ. This is their optimizer. I've been using it for NFL Showdown. It's the only thing that I've really consistently used the optimizer for, but I'm going to use it for NBA today. I'll show you as I set up my optimizer how I'm using it. So if you want to check it out, you can get $10 off using promo code Flannel. I think there's a link in the description. There's a link in the description of this video if you want to check that out yourself. And also Unabated. Showed you at the beginning the Unabated pick'em tools where they just give you odds and stuff. Very, very good tools. They've had great results. And also we're looking at Unabated projections. They give you conditional projections. They give you updates. It's really cool the way that they have worked on that product. They have been very good at any promises they make. They've been keeping them. They've been very cool. So check that out if you want to. Unabated is typically it's $59 a week. You get what you pay for. So it's kind of expensive, but also if you are a very serious player, if you're serious into betting, you get $10 off every week. So it's not just the first week with that one. If you use promo code Flannel, link also in the description for that. Excuse me. All right. Small forward again. So right now we're using RG. My cough has not been that bad until I start doing a show where I'm talking by myself the whole time. So Keldon Johnson, the top projected small forward in terms of point per dollar. So he's projected for 23 minutes, 21 fantasy points at 4,000. Lonzo Ball's minutes limits has been increased to 28 minutes. That just came out in the Unabated Discord. It'll come out momentarily on Underdog as well, but that is a nice little bonus of the Unabated Discord. Is they do their news alerts are done by Justin Fan, who used to do Fantasy Labs. I think he's the best in the game pretty clearly, but he does that for Unabated now, so they always come out a little bit before everywhere else, which is cool. Yeah, Lonzo Ball's minutes limit increased to 28 minutes. That's actually maybe going to be impactful. Yeah, so they had him at 28. Let's just say if we put him in at 28, suddenly he's going to be a better value. Now he projects for 27 fantasy points at 4,700. It's not bad. Honestly, we're lacking a ton of value. It's pretty. I know I'm going out of order now, but I'm curious to see. Suddenly, he's the best point per dollar on at point guard on the slate. So that's kind of cool. All right, but back to small forward. Keldon Johnson, the best point per dollar, and you can see he's just 5.31 points per dollar. Not amazing, but he is the best we've got. That's in 23 projected minutes. Yeah, pretty all over the place here. Seems like a reasonable projection. Jaylen Brown, 40 projected fantasy points at 7,800. Jason Tatum, 49 at 9,500. RJ Barrett, love the matchup for Barrett. So this is another, like I mentioned Scotty Barnes earlier. I think you do the same thing. You can make the same argument for RJ Barrett. Just 10.5% projection ownership at 7,300. Some volatility in his minutes, but 34 against New Orleans, 35 against Atlanta. Could see extra minutes here in a great matchup against the Bulls. High paced, bad defense. So I'm liking some RJ Barrett here. Justin Edwards, just 4,000, basically 5x value, 27 minutes. Chris Middleton, again, you could give him a little bit of a boost in minutes. He'll look a little bit better. That's kind of an obvious thing to say. Anybody will look better if you give them more minutes. I think Fast and Furious say minutes equals money, and that is true. But I think the minutes are kind of all over the place for Chris Middleton, so we could see a little bit of an increase there. I think there's volatility there, I should say. Let's see if there's any contrarian pieces that look good here. MPJ looks fine. Not a lot that's standing out as like clear great value or great contrarian plays that I love. But I think the Raptors guys I want to take shots on, Scotty Barnes and RJ Barrett. Get above weight to the field there. Julius Randle ruled out for Saturday. All right, so that's just by points per dollar. If we just sort by raw fantasy points, Jason Tatum, the best at the position per RG, then Scotty Barnes, then Jaylen Brown, RJ Barrett, Trey Murphy, and so on. Let's take a look at Unabated, shooting at small forward. And it is, I think, the same order: Tatum, Barnes, Brown, Barrett, Murphy. Devin Vassell, he actually projects pretty well for Unabated. Devin Vassell, 6,100, 33 fantasy points. Looks pretty good. All right, let me sort by points per dollar here. Okay, yeah, it is Devin Vassell, the best point per dollar play for Unabated, followed by Justin Edwards. I think they have him projected a little bit better than RG. They have Edwards in for 28 minutes, 21. I mean, still not great. 21 fantasy points at 4,000. Then Jaylen Brown is the third best point per dollar play here. RJ Barrett. And I kind of want to give him a minutes boost and just force a little bit more RJ Barrett there. But I'm not going to do it yet. Josh Green available to play. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to search too hard for good contrarian plays here, but I think the Raptors guys stand out to me at these ownership numbers. Vessel looks pretty good. It's coming in at 9% as the best point per dollar small forward. Seems like a pretty good play also. MPJ, I almost want to, like, he's at 3.5% ownership. Maybe having, I'm trying to think of how having Aaron Gordon back in the starting lineup, what does that do for MPJ? I don't know. Like Russell Westbrook, very different players. All right. Let's move on to power forward. I'm going to check in on chat. Yeah, Justin Fan is at unabated now, so he's providing. Yeah, sorry, apologies for the sounds. Christy says sounds like you're dying. I wasn't that bad. I kind of knew that this was a possibility. Once I start on a stream and I go for an hour talking by myself, over an hour talking by myself, I just it's tough. It's tough when you're stuffed up. It's a lot better having a co-host. I'd love to find other people to talk more on these shows with some other people so that I can do less of the just talking to myself. It's a good note from OOA says, I liked Barnes and Barrett a bit more before I realized that Quickly was back. That is true. Having Quickly back should hurt them a little bit. Yeah, but even though I played big minutes last time, there's no guarantee that he plays full minutes yet today. Although we haven't really seen any kind of note on it, so I don't know. Let's see. All right. All right. No other news for today. Nope. Okay. I think I still like them, but that's a fair point. I think I'm just really just reaching to find players to love on this slate. But maybe once I start making lineups, it'll be easier. All right. So power forwards. Oh, and it's worth noting that this is also a slate where every game is going to lock within an hour of each other, I believe. Yeah, 7-7, 7:30, 7:30, 8, and 8. So not a ton of like late swap that we're waiting for either. Okay. So power forward. Sort of by point per dollar. Aaron Gordon is the top. What did he play last time out? So he was back in the starting lineup finally. He played, they're projected for 29 minutes. What did he play last time? Played 30. Okay. I played a ton of Aaron Gordon on this slate on the 29th and was very disappointed in the output here. I thought he was like going completely overlooked by the field. He's going to play big minutes as a starter. There was some other chalk that people really loved that I didn't think was great and kind of underwhelmed in that one. But I like it. I think it's a very, very strong play here. 4,400. Price doesn't come up much. Philadelphia, I don't know if the rebounding matters that much, but they have been a terrible rebounding team. Yeah, 45% rebound rate over the past 10 games. They've been terrible. Fairly strong rebounder. So I think Aaron Gordon makes sense. This looks great. I want to play a lot. He's getting 32% ownership though, so I don't want to. Less exciting when the field is all there. Giannis is the second best point per dollar power forward, which just goes to show you how bad the value is. I mean, Giannis projects for 64.6 fantasy points, but he's also going to get 40% ownership. PJ Washington, 39 fantasy points at 7,300, the third best point per dollar play here. Justin Edwards, again, just 4,021. Keldon Johnson, 4,021 fantasy points. Ricky Council, 4,200, 21 fantasy points. Tatum, Patrick Williams. Too bad that Toronto matchup is no longer that great. Yeah, nobody's standing out. Zion. Oh, Zion ruled out. Okay. So there's some news. All right. So who's going to look better with Zion off the floor? I can pull up Rotogrinders, Court IQ. I mean, typically we have enough time now that we can kind of wait for the projections. They're going to do a better job than I am right now of factoring in everything that needs to be factored in. But I'm just going to take a quick look at Rotogrinders Court IQ. He's also missed enough time that I don't know. I mean, let me look at him, his game log. All right, looks like he's played the last 3 games. So maybe prices have adjusted some. Don't think that took Zion. Oh, there we go. All right, who benefits from Zion being out? So you can see here, this is per 36 minutes. Jamal Cain gets the biggest bump. Nobody gets like a massive bump here. Brandon Ingram, 1.2% usage boost. Alvarado, 1.9%. CJ McCollum, 1.4%. Kind of minimal bumps across the board in terms of usage and in terms of DraftKings points per 36 minutes. What I don't totally understand about this tool is, so this is per 36 minutes with Zion off the court. I don't know that this gives like the minutes boost for players who see if this factors in. This is just Zion off the court. Does it actually factor in? I don't think it factors in like players getting a boost for, Missy, for example, might get an extra 5 minutes with Zion out or something. I have no idea what his minutes boost would be, but I don't think this factors in the actual minutes boost. So I think we have to wait for projections that'll do that for us. But that is pretty impactful news. I am going to hold off on looking at unabated projections until we have. Actually, I can do conditional projections, but I want to look at the. I'm gonna check the unabated Discord. See if they have updated already, because they're pretty quick in general. No, their latest update is they've already updated for Lonzo Ball minutes increase. So I'm going to re-download unabated projections and put them back in. And then as soon as they get the Zion, I am going to re-download them once they have Zion out. All right, but I'm going to continue at power forward for now. And in terms of, so before the Zion news, this is the fantasy points per dollar was Gordon, Giannis, PJ Washington. No great values here at power forward. Maybe somebody like who's going to benefit? It's going to be Missy's going to benefit from Zion being out. Let's see. Looks like it was Javonte Green came in for him last game. Oops. Yeah, looks like it was Javonte Green was splitting minutes with, at least in the first half here, looks like direct split. Interesting. Yeah, it looks like the whole game was just Zion and Javonte Green. This most recent game, split minutes. Huh, okay. So maybe Javonte Green gets a bump. Let me see Javonte Green's projection and price. He's only 3,600. I bet he's going to look pretty good. Small forward and power forward eligible. So if we give him a boost, I mean, he's not a great, look at the fantasy points per dollar is not great, but he'll get a boost in minutes. On a slate without much value, maybe he becomes intriguing. Still not a great matchup. All right, but I'm going to continue power forwards overall. And in terms of fantasy points, Giannis, I mean, just the best projected player on the slate, I believe, 64.6. Zion's going to get out of here. Let's see if Rotogrinders has updated for Zion being out. Looks like they maybe have. So they have still Giannis, Tatum, Bridges, a lot of the same. So what do they have Green at? They have him at 28 minutes, still not just 18.4 fantasy points in at 3,600. Still doesn't jump out as like an amazing value. Robinson Earl also gets a boost there, min-priced. They have him in for 23 minutes and 20 fantasy points, so he looks pretty good. Actually, let me sort by fantasy points per dollar now. See what these look like. Okay, so they have Jeremiah Robinson Earl now, the best fantasy point per dollar play at power forward. So he'll get some of those minutes that Zion's leaving behind, and suddenly looks like a pretty strong value. Giannis still the second best point per dollar play at power forward. Aaron Gordon looks great. They have him in for 30 minutes. Okay. Keldon Johnson, he played it last time, so that makes sense. Javonte Green actually up there also. All right. I'm going to come back to power forward in a minute after we get the updated unabated stuff. I'm going to move on to centers. And then I'm just going to look at all the updated stuff, run some lineups, talk about how I'm going to adjust the settings. All right, so centers. And Diabate, also one of the, I mean, he's the top projected point per dollar center. Probably not going to get the start. It's probably going to be Taj Gibson starting again, but Diabate still going to get the majority of the minutes. In the last game, Taj Gibson started, but Diabate was the one who played 27 minutes. Same thing on the 25th. It was Taj Gibson who started, but Diabate played the majority of minutes. Taj Gibson just can't handle that many minutes these days. So Diabate benefits, plays a lot of minutes, and looks good here against Clippers. The best point per dollar play. He's actually, 4,228 fantasy points. He's a pretty strong value on a slate without a lot of great value. Again, Robinson Earl looks pretty good. I think Beef Stew is out, right? So I just need to remove this. Okay. Paul Reed, B-ball Paul, mid-priced, 18 fantasy points. Looks okay. Jakob Poeltl, playing against the Bulls. Nice matchup. Again, I don't know if the pace really benefits somebody like Poeltl as much, but 39 fantasy points at 6,600 looks pretty good. Giannis, again, doesn't project quite. Wait. Oh, he projects for 65 here. He was at 66 in unabated, but regardless, projects a little bit worse than Joker, but not much. Aaron Gordon, center eligible. Jalen Duren benefits from Stewart being out. It's only 6,200. Looks pretty good. Does look like another, these are pretty common these days, a two-center slate. I think this will be one that a lot of my lineups have two centers. Just scrolling to see if there's anybody else that I really want to play. And I'm not sure that there is. Yeah, I think you can kind of limit yourself to the top players. Actually, Missy looks pretty good. projected for 27 minutes. But with no Zion, he could benefit some. Played 20 minutes last time out, 29 with Zion in. So basically looks okay. All right. I'm going to see if Unabated has updated their projections. Yeah, I saw Stewart was suspended. I just didn't know why he was in there, but apparently it was just a mistake. So let me double check the Unabated. All right. Maybe they already had them with Zion out, so maybe that's why they are not updating. So let me try to re-download Unabated projections with Zion out. And then I'm going to put those in, and then I'm going to play around with some lineups here. Oh, and you can see they no longer have conditional projections because we already have all the news. All right, so I'm going to just download Unabated projections. Update those real quick. All right. Then put those into RG. Then, okay, Kevin Porter. Yes, Kevin Porter. Let's go through this real quick. Good. Okay. All right. Should not take me long. But Luka's not. Oh, so he just says 0, so that's why they're skipping it. Okay. Now I understand. Okay. Good. Cool. So now we've got the updated, unabated projections in there. All right. So now I'm going to run the optimizer and see what comes out. And I'm going to start with, I do unabated projections. Let's try unabated projections. So I've got the unabated projections in here. Now, when I run the optimizer, I'm going to start by running just unrestricted. I'm going to run 10 lineups. And it's just going to, when I run the optimizer, unrestrained by any conditions, by any changes, all it's going to do me is give me the 10 best projected lineups using, and I have unabated projections in here as the source. So when I click build 10 lineups up here, it's going to give me 10 lineups that are the best projected lineups per unabated. And unabated, the top projected lineup here. And actually, because I'm using Rotogrinders projected ownership, I wonder if I should use their projections here instead. But so this would be the top projected lineup overall using unabated projections would be Lonzo Ball, Kobe White, Justin Edwards, Aaron Gordon, Musa Diabate, Brandon Boston, Giannis, and Joker. Interesting. You get even on a slate with such little value, both Giannis and Joker make it into their optimal lineup. It projects for 284 0.17 fantasy points. And then the second best, 283.77, again, has both Joker and Giannis. What's the difference here? Keldon Johnson. Justin Edwards becomes Keldon Johnson. Is that the only? I think that's the only difference between the two. So that's second best, and so on. And that's what happens with an optimizer. If you just run it unencumbered without making any changes, it's just going to give you the best projected possible lineups. And then every change you make to the optimizer, every setting you change, lowers the projected lineups that it is going to give you. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be worse lineups, but they are going to project worse, at least based on the projections that you are using. So, I mean, obviously, if you change a projection on a player, if I gave if I gave some player that's not, if I gave Wemby a projection of 100, it's going to give you the first line is going to have Wemby in it, and it's going to have it's going to project better than 284 because it's going to show the projection with Wemby there. But based on the source projections, it'll actually be a worse projected lineup because you're going to be replacing Joker or I don't know, I guess Giannis with Wemby. And based on the source projection, Giannis actually projects better than Wemby. It'll look like it's a better projected lineup, but it's not based on these projections. So every change that I make from here on is going to change the projections. Now, the way that I work, so we actually I'm gonna do this using the RG projections now that we've seen what they look like, and it's pretty interesting. Brandon Boston makes it into the top lineup here. Is the one of the better point per dollar plays on the slate. But because I'm using RG's ownership projections for this exercise, I also want to use their projections. So I am going to, first I'm going to reset their projections. Okay. And now I'm going to do the same exercise, but now I'm just using the RG projections instead. Oh, and because I'm using their player pool, this is funny. Different sites, like there's a requirement that you make at least 2 changes to whatever they provide. So like different sites interpret that differently. RG interprets it that you have to change things slightly. You have to make changes before you can just run a lineup. So a way around that is to just change by 1/100th of a fantasy point change in projection. I just did that. All right, so the top projected, and you can see this is pretty different. The top projected Rotogrinders lineup, and the projected ownership comes up to 213.43%. That kind of makes sense. A lot of places, the projection, that size projection, is going to be closely kind of correlated to ownership to some extent. But now projects for 287.42 fantasy points at RG 213.43 projected ownership. The lineup here does not have Joker in it. It has Lonzo Ball, Kelly Oubre, Keldon Johnson, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, Musa Diabate, Tyrese Maxey, Giannis, and Jakob Poeltl in this one. And then it's going to be every lineup is going to be slightly projected worse. I haven't really done anything to mess with projections here, but it goes from 287.42 to 286.36 is the second best, 286.06, and so on and so forth. They're all going to project slightly worse than the first one because the top is the top projected lineup. So typically for me, I haven't done any kind of cap on ownership or minimum on projection when I run my lineups historically. It's something that maybe you should do, but and I think I might try to do that today. I think that's maybe a way that I can improve my current NBA process. But I just want to say, like, I have never done that. I've never set any kind of ownership cap. I've never set any kind of projection minimum because I just I've always, with the understanding that the optimizer wants to give me the top projected lineups. I've kind of always worked under the assumption that, like, yeah, the lineups that I make, if I don't put on crazy high um very randomness, it's still going to give me highly projected lineups. Like and it's going to be, I'm changing projections ever so slightly to get to some lower owned plays, but it's still just it's going to be trying to give me really highly projected lineups, and then I make slight adjustments to projections, which again changes the source projection so that my lineups are going to be projecting slightly worse based on the source because I'm boosting up players that actually project worse by the projection source. But I have never really felt the need to play like the standard way that I think most people probably should play. Like if you don't know the players and stuff, and maybe I'm at that point now where I don't know them as well as I once did, that's probably a good way to start is by saying, all right, so if I want to make some good lineups, I'm going to say this one projects for 213% ownership. I don't even know what a good cap would be there. But okay, let's say if 287.42 um, is the top projected lineup based on RG projections. I think a good floor projection, like to say I don't want any lineups to project worse than that, is probably like 276. So I'm going to go into build rules, minimum fantasy points threshold, 276. Okay, and then I'm going to go, I'm going to turn on some randomness. So true range randomness, which I don't usually, I just put on like 10% randomness, but I think this is probably, it says true range randomness limits the possible fantasy points selected by the builder at random to a player's true projected range of outcomes. At 100% randomness, the minimum fantasy points will be the player's first percentile outcome. At 100% randomness, the maximum fantasy points is the 99th percentile outcome. Lowering the randomness will constrict the range from the center point with a 10% randomness setting, allowing only a 10 percentile range from 45 to 55 as an example, can only be used with fantasy points. Okay. I don't think I'm going to use that. I think I'm just going to use the classic 10% randomness, which again, I have not. Let's see. I want to change maximum exposures. Where's randomness here? Maybe I do want to use it because I don't see range of outcomes percentages. Oh, for example, okay, range of outcomes. See, I've used this for NFL Showdown, but this is not giving me the same. All right, so this setting allows you to set a range of outcomes for a player's projection. For example, if a player has a projection of 10, and you set the range of outcomes to 10%, every time a lineup is produced, this player will be assigned a random projection between 9 and 11. Okay, good. So this is what I want. So this is what I, I usually use. It's just different in that it doesn't call it randomness, but I am going to use 10% range of outcomes. So if a player projects for 20, I'm going to, on each lineup that it shoots out, it's going to have that player projected between 18 and 22 if I put 10% on, because 10% of 20 is 2 fantasy points. So it's going to be 2 more or 2 less than 20 or anything within that range. So it's up to 10% in either direction. I kind of like to have just a little bit of randomness on within my settings. But so, okay, I've set the minimum fantasy point threshold at 276. Now I can set max total lineup ownership. Again, is something that I've never really done for NBA because it's just not really the way that I play, and because I skew things enough that I don't feel the need. But I do think that this is a worthwhile exercise in looking at how we probably should be playing. So this one projects for 200. The top projected lineup projects for 213.43%. Second one is 208.84, 222, 204. Okay. So it looks like it's probably going to, I probably want a number that's under 200, certainly. But let me see if if it'll spit out lineups. If I put it at like 190, is that going to be low enough? Let me try that. Let me see what those lineups look like. Oops, they're not min. Okay. And I don't know that I set a minimum, but I will anyway. Let's put something in there. The max is really the only number I care about here. All right. Okay. So now I'm just going to try. Oh, and then the one other max players per team. I usually set it at 3 on most slates. I think this looks like a good slate to have it at 3. I can find, where is that setting? Players per team. There we go. Yeah, I'm just going to change this to 3 for NBA. Because I don't see any teams that I want more than that. And now I'm going to build, let's see, I'm playing 160 teams on DraftKings. Let's see what they look like. Your player pool is empty. Shouldn't be. Well, that's weird. What did I do? Oh, and I also want to change my number of unique players to at least, I'd pay 2 on a 6-game slate. All right, player pool. I'm going to try to, I'm just going to refresh the page. I've never seen this before. It's getting scary this close to game time. Missing players. Your player pool is empty. Rules. Is anybody who's watching, do you have any idea what's going on? Because I don't have any idea why I would say that. All right. I didn't uncheck anybody, but then I just double checked that by rechecking everybody. And it does not update it. Change this to, I don't know what that means. I don't know what I'm doing here. Okay. That's very strange. All right, let me see if I can just change to unabated projections. I'd rather use, okay. Didn't do it. Got the right slate selected. Literally never had this error before. Oops. Let me see if I can do. All right. Refresh one more time. Player pool is empty. All right, can I reset these? Oops. Oh, interesting. So it was when I undid the minimum fantasy points threshold. Let me try that. Okay. It did not like the setting allows you to specify a minimum numeric threshold. Oh, for each player. That's the issue. Okay. Okay, that's okay. I was trying to set a total lineup. Can I do that somewhere else? I had assumed that that's what it was. Let me see if there's somewhere else I can do that. Sure, player has. All right. Interesting. Let me see if there's anywhere else I can. Maybe I don't have that option. I had seen that earlier, and I just assumed that that was, yeah, player threshold. All right. Well, I know there are some very, very sharp NBA DFS players who set a minimum salary, so that can help to some extent. I wish I could set a minimum fantasy points threshold for the lineup, but I'm not sure I'm going to have that ability. So maybe I'll turn down the randomness a little bit. Turn that to 5%. And then still say I'm going to build 10. And then I remember, I think it was 276 was still the minimum threshold. So yeah, 287. Maybe I'll turn up to 277 and see if I can get them. Some max total. Oh no, sorry, I meant ownership. So what I want to look at. Total ownership. Yeah, I want to set it like 190. See if I can do that. 190 max total lineup ownership. All right. Now I'm going to try making 160 lineups. I have to remember, I have to do FanDuel still too. So I got to be quick about this. Yeah, pricing it's probably not a bad idea to set a minimum price threshold for NBA. All right, so first lineup we see here, and this is now it's not necessarily the top projected, even within the settings that I put of 190 because I have some randomness on. It's not necessarily, and I have a maximum number of players per team. I've set some rules that are going to bring down the projection of my lineup, and also even within the lineups that I've made, it's not necessarily actually this is total fantasy points high to low. So this is the top projected of the lineups that I've made because it's not in order that they're made. That's in order of their fantasy points, whatever. But the first lineup you see here, so with the set at 190% as the top, we've got, Chris Middleton at 13.5%, Paul Reed at 13%. And this one projects for 282 fantasy points. Has kind of a good mix of like some chalk and some lower owned pieces. Nobody's super contrarian. Probably good enough on a 6-game slate. Second lineup. Yeah, a couple players at like 13% ownership. Russell Westbrook, Paul Reed. Still a lot of chalk, still projecting pretty well. I believe it was like 287 was the top projected lineup. So we're still, fairly close. And of course I set the minimum. So these lineups are all going to project within 11 or so fantasy points of the top projected lineup. They're going to be a little bit lower owned in the top projected lineups, which is generally kind of what we're shooting for with NBA DFS. Like projections are generally pretty good. You don't want to stray too far from the top projected lineups, but you don't want to just play like the cash lineups either. So I think that's generally a good way to play. But let me see if there are players that I like that I'm not getting to, and to look at that and on Rotogrinders, one thing that I've noticed is if you only want to see who you have in your latest set before you make adjustments, you have to delete earlier builds. So now if I go to my player pool and I sort by actual exposure, it'll show me how much I got to different players in my latest build. So I'm just going to go through and see if there's anybody that I want a lot less of, a lot more of. And typically I just, if I had more time, I don't have that much time. Typically I would not adjust anybody downward. Like if I want less of Giannis, I wouldn't, the way I do it, I don't necessarily, I wouldn't adjust Giannis downward, but I would be adjusting other players that I want more of upward and just kind of go in one direction rather than like trying to more of this player, less of this player, and it ends up kind of everything getting boggled. I think it's just easier to keep straight if you just more of the players that you want, more of. So like Jeremiah, I probably don't want 52% Jeremiah Robinson Earl. If I had more time, I probably wouldn't even adjust his projection yet, but I'm going to just downward adjust that one slightly. Same thing for Diabate. I'm just going to, because I don't have a ton of time, I'm going to actually manually adjust those who in particular. It's just pretty obvious that I want less. Lonzo, 28-minute project. Yeah, he's suddenly I'm getting to a lot more. Aaron Gordon looks pretty good. I'm getting to 42%. All right. Middleton. Do I want more? He's projected for 24 minutes. I think he could play more. I'm just going to project him for one more minute. So you can see some players I'm projecting the fantasy point projection. Middleton, I'm just going to change the minutes. This is clearly not a great like exact science the way that I'm approaching this. But oops. But I don't have a ton of time. Definitely want more Joker. I'm only getting to 11% Joker, so I'm going to guess that I'm getting to a lot more Giannis. So I'm just going to boost him to like 65.6 fantasy points. Get a bit more there. Wemby. Sure, we'll give him a little boost. I do still think I want more of like RJ Barrett. I think I want to take a stand there. I'm going to go to Scotty Barnes. Tatum, I think I want a little bit more in case the game stays close. Excuse me. All right, did I miss Barnes here? I'm going to have to search his name. Yeah, I got to very little Barnes. What if I gave him 37 minutes, which I think is plausible? All right, now I'm just going to rerun the lineups. Glad I only played $135 on this slate because I didn't give myself as much time as I wanted to. And I still have to do FanDuel. So I'm just going to play these lineups. Al Horford available to play in case you missed that. Sam Hauser available to play. So yeah, we've got all the news. All right, 80% Diabody. I'm just going to roll with it. Don't let me down. Just want to see. Oh, yeah. So now I'm up to 23% Scotty Barnes, 23% RJ Barrett. You know, I did not get to, I don't think I got to any of, what's his name? The other Raptors player. Yeah, I don't have time. I'm just going to export this. Emmanuel Quickly is the name I'm looking for. All right. I'm going to upload these. Then I'm going to do a quick FanDuel run if I can. Otherwise, I might just miss the first lock for FanDuel. And you can't see what I'm doing right now. I'm just copy pasting my spreadsheets for DraftKings. Oops. Uploading. If anybody's watching, you've not used an optimizer, let me know. Let me know if you need to see the full process here. All right. So I've got some lineups in for DraftKings. Yeah, quickly. Yep. All right. Now I'm just going to do FanDuel, and luckily I'm not playing a ton. But I'm going to make the assumption that I want kind of the same players here. Actually, let's see. Who are the? No, I don't have time to look at it. It's gonna see who are the top projected point per dollar and stuff. But no, I just don't have time for that. I'm just gonna give 36 minutes to RJ, maybe 37. Get closer to because they only get projected for 6% ownership. Barnes getting more ownership here. I'm going to turn on more randomness because I don't have a ton of time to play around with it. All right. And build those out. Damn, get into a ton of Diabati, which center, I don't love that because he's only center eligible. Let me this is what I do when I don't have a ton of time is all right, I'm getting into a ton of Diabati, but obviously I want to get to some Joker, so I'm just going to give whatever give Joker 39 minutes. Zubats, bigs against Charlotte. I mean, come on. Let's get to a little bit of Zubats. That's too much. All right, I'm just going to give him 34. Jakob Pertl. Missy. Maybe I'm underrated, like how much I do want Diabati, but I'm just going to give him 27 minutes. All right, now I'm going to try this again. All right, now I still have 63%. That seems good enough. Can I get these in time? Damn it. Oh. Nope, that's not what I want. This is going to be close. Uh-oh. Since when are they texting me codes? I don't think I'm going to get these in time. No, I missed it by seconds. All right. Well, that was a good first full NBA stream. Had some technical difficulties there. Did not get any players from the first set into my FanDuel lineups. So hopefully the overlay is enough to overcome that. But that's going to do it. That is going to do it for this show. This has been a long one, a fun one. I don't think we're waiting on any kind of news or anything. I wasn't sure if I was going to go longer than an hour on this one. I've gone about 2 hours. Oh, we just got the Raptors starting lineup. I think that's as expected. Quickly, Dick, Barrett, Barnes, Pirtle. All right, yeah. You also have a good one, OA. Yeah, NBA lock is the most stressful lock. If I had just not decided at the last minute, if Fantasy Guru Drew, he's to blame for this because he reminded me of the overlay on FanDuel. If I had not decided at the last minute to put some FanDuel lineups in, then I would not have had any issue there. But this is fun. Oh, and you see here, I did not move my this down to DK. There you go. All right. It's been fun. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. This show, obviously a work in progress. Let me know what you think of this format. If there's anything that you'd like me to change, I will hopefully not be sick the next time I do this show. So it'll be a little bit easier going. Maybe I'll try and get some guests. I don't know. But this has been fun. Thank you for hanging out with me. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, of course, trying to get to 5,000 by the Super Bowl. Long way to go there. So would appreciate anybody subscribing, liking the video, commenting, all of that. Very helpful. Thanks guys, and I will catch you next time.